All right, good morning. It's Monday morning and we have reading class today. Now this is going to be an interesting reading class. We have two lessons, lesson 13 and lesson 14, and we don't have a normal story like in your reader. Instead, I'm going to read you a story and you're going to listen, and then on the first lesson, lesson 13, you're going to write in answers. In part A, lots of answers, right? And then you're going to do the we remember, and then we're going to go to lesson 14, and the first part in lesson 14 is I'm going to ask you questions, and you're going to take a blank paper and write down the answers, okay? So you're going to write down the answers, and then you're going to hand the answers in when you bring back your tests on Thursday, okay? Does that make sense? So here we go. So we're going to read this story, and then I'll explain what else goes on. So I want you to listen very carefully to this story. It's a super important part of this lesson, okay? So the story is called Selfish, Selfish, Selfish. Jeannie Ryan put away her workbook, then clasped her hands on her desk and fastened her eyes on the schoolroom clock. 2 minutes till 3. If only Sister May would tap that dismissal bell early for a change. She glanced over to the first grade side of the room and saw that her brother, Roger, was ready and waiting for the bell too. His bright smile matched the excitement she felt inside. In one more week, Jeannie's second year of school would be over. And then, moving day. Just one more week and they would be moving close to Grandma. Jeannie could hardly wait until she would be able to see Grandma every day simply by running up the hill to her house. Every afternoon when Jeannie and Roger got home from school, Mother was packing. Every afternoon, the stack of boxes on the side porch was bigger, and the rooms were emptier. Now Jeannie could hardly wait to get home to see what Mother had done today. So she did not smile back at Roger because she was thinking, I just know he is going to want to ride behind me on the bike going home. But it's my turn, and if I have to haul him, it will take me twice as long. He can walk with the Andersons. If only I can get going before he comes. Ding, ding. Jeannie was on her feet instantly. Bye, Sister May. Excuse me, Joe. Sorry, Della. I didn't mean to knock you down. No, Lillian, I'm in a big hurry. There's so much to do at home these days. First one out, she observed gleefully, jumping down the outside steps and dashing toward the bike rack. But Roger ran up before she could take off. Let me ride home behind you, Jeannie. I can hardly wait to see what all Mother did today. No, Roger, it's my turn for the bike, and I can't manage too well with you on the back. I can pedal up the hills by myself, but if you are along, both of us have to walk and push the bike, and it's so hot today. The smile faded from Roger's face. He stepped back, disappointed, and he said, when it's my turn to have the bike, and you want to ride along, then you say you can manage all right. Then you don't mind pushing the bike up the hills. But that's different, replied Jeannie, not knowing what else to say, since Roger's accusation was true. She got on the bike and pushed off. No, it's not different, Roger declared, his voice rising. Both times you are selfish. Selfish, selfish, selfish. He shouted after her as she pedaled swiftly out of the schoolyard and onto the Homeward road. That day, when Jeannie skipped into the house, Mother was clearing out the cupboards under the kitchen counters. The table was crowded with jars, quarts, half-gallons, and gallons. Mother stored lots of food in jars to keep it safe from dampness and bugs. Didn't you bring Roger with you? Inquired Mother, adding 2 more jars to the already crowded table. No, he's walking with the Andersons, explained Jeannie. She slowly moved around the table to see what was in all of those jars. Here was a gallon of oatmeal, 1 of white soup beans, and 1 of macaroni. Sprays of spindly spaghetti stood in another jar. That yellow stuff must be cornmeal. Here was syrup, brown sugar, honey, and speckled brown beans. There was a jar of cornflakes and 1 of rice. And here were a gallon, a half-gallon, and 2 quart jars of pure white stuff. What was it? Flour? Cornstarch? Jeannie swiped a finger under the rim and then licked off the white powder. Powdered sugar. How she loved powdered sugar. Mother, may I eat a little of this powdered sugar? Mother shot a glance in Jeannie's direction before sticking her head under the sink and beginning to scrub the shelf there. No, that is cornstarch. You wouldn't like that. I think I would, Jeannie replied, smiling deep inside herself. No, you wouldn't, dear. It doesn't have any taste. It's not sweet like it is when I use it in dessert. But may I have some, anyway? Yes, you may have all you want, said Mother. All I want? Really? Yes, all you want. Mother's head disappeared briefly from under the sink. But you will have to eat all you take. I told you, you won't like it. But if you insist on taking some anyhow, you must eat it, even if you decide you don't like it. All right, I will eat all I take. Every bit. Jeannie promised, trying not to sound too gleeful. She got a cereal bowl from the cupboard and a soup bowl from the drawer. Unscrewing the lid of the jar, she dipped up a heaping spoonful. She stuck her tongue against it. Yes, it was powdered sugar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 heaping spoonfuls she lifted from the jar and piled inside the bowl. Jeannie replaced the lid and hurried outside. She was still giggling to herself at the joke on Mother when she sat down on the far side of the lilac bush beside the garage, out of sight of the house. For the first time in her life, she had all the powdered sugar she wanted. She could hardly believe it. First, she pressed her tongue onto the soft white mound to see how much would stick. Then she ate several spoonfuls just as she would mashed potatoes or ice cream, though she felt rather wasteful doing so. After that, she dipped some up in the tip of the spoon, tossed it into her mouth, and nearly choked as she drew the dry powder back into her throat. For a time, Jeannie thought she would never get her breath again, but after a minute of hard coughing, she finally recovered. What's the matter with you? Roger stood there, lunchbox in hand, regarding her in astonishment. I just had to cough, Jeannie said defensively. Why did Roger have to turn up to bother her again? She noticed with a brief twinge of conscience the streaks of sweat running down the sides of her brother's face. It was really hot today. What's that white stuff you're eating? Powdered sugar, she admitted reluctantly. Really? All that? Did Mother say you could have it? Let me have some, coaxed Roger. No, this is mine. Go get some yourself. Mother wouldn't let me, said Roger. You know she would never let us eat sugar, just plain sugar like that. You must have sneaked and helped yourself. Please give me some. Sorry, this is the first time in my life I ever had all the sugar I wanted. You can go and get some for yourself. I know Mother wouldn't let me have any, and you could share a little of yours if you weren't so selfish. Selfish, 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 cried Roger with tears in his voice. He turned away, and presently Jeannie saw him riding down the lane on the bicycle. Twice, as she watched, he swiped his eyes at the back of his hand, and Jeannie knew he was crying. She turned back to her bowl of sugar, but it didn't taste so good anymore. I guess I could have given him a little, she thought. I would have still had plenty left. Jeannie took a small spoonful and held it to her mouth, letting it dissolve slowly. Then she took another one. It was sweet enough, but surely didn't have any flavor. It was sweet enough, but surely didn't have any flavor. Another one. Too sweet, really. Sickeningly sweet. She scooped up a little on the tip of the spoon and sat looking at it. Then slowly, she laid it down. Suddenly, she had enough powdered sugar. With dismay, she surveyed the amount left in the bowl. How could she ever eat it? If only she had a drink of water, or a cracker, or a piece of bread, anything wet or salty to cut that awful dry sweetness. Maybe Roger, but no, Roger was far down the road. Then her conversation with Mother smote her with despair. If you insist on taking some anyhow, you must eat it, even if you decide you don't like it. And her reply, all right, I will eat all I take, every bit, she had promised. No, she could not give any away. She couldn't even throw it away. Roger's last words came to her mind and added the last straw to her misery. Selfish, selfish, selfish. Yes, she was selfish. That's why she had been so tickled when Mother thought the sugar was cornstarch. Selfish, selfish, selfish. That's why she hadn't taken a spoonful and told Mother to taste it to show her that it truly wasn't cornstarch. That's why her little brother was riding down the road crying to himself. Selfish, selfish, selfish. That was why she was stuck with all this sickeningly sweet white powder. Jeannie slowly put another spoonful of sugar into her mouth. She had to hold it a minute before she could swallow it. Sickening, sickening stuff. Another mouthful. This time she gagged before she swallowed, but it stayed down. Her stomach heaved twice as she lifted the next mouthful. Jeannie hesitated, and her stomach heaved another warning. She dropped the spoon. I can't, she whispered and began to cry. Dear God, I can't eat a bit more. I'll tell Mother. I'll tell Roger I'm sorry. But please help me get the rest of this awful stuff down. It took another half hour for Jeannie to force down the last of the sugar. She had made an honest and total desperate effort to eat every bit as she promised. 10 more minutes passed before Jeannie's stomach finally settled. Then she started for the house to make a confession. But first she had to have a long drink of water and a handful of crackers. So that is the story. And you can go back and listen to it if you need to. But the next part you're going to do is in lesson 13, you're going to do part A. So you're going to fill in all of the answers, and then you're going to do the we remember. And so, so you can finish the lesson. I'm going to talk about lesson 14 now. So I want you to pause this, do lesson 13, and then unpause it, and then do the rest. So you can pause right now, but I'm going to start doing lesson 14. So you're not quite ready to do lesson 14, that's why you need to do lesson 13 first. All right, so lesson 14, here we go. All right, so in lesson 13, we read a story. And so right now, I'm going to ask you questions and you're going to answer them. You don't need full sentences, you just need to put the answer in. So I want you to take a piece of paper and a pencil and write 1 through 10, like as if we were writing spelling words. 1 through 10, and on each number, I'm going to ask you a question, and I just want you to put the answer in the blank on like 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. And then you're going to hand it in on Thursday with your tests, okay? All right, so the first question, you ready? What was the name of the boy in the story? Okay, so that's number 1. Put it on the number 1 blank on your blank piece of paper. And the second question, you can always pause this if you don't have time to write it in, right? So you can pause it, write an answer, pause it, write an answer. That works really well. The second one, what was the name of the girl? Okay, what was the name of the girl? Third question, who was another important character? So we have the boy, we have the girl. Who was another important character? This is for question 3. All right, and then 4. What time of the year did the story happen? What time of year did the story happen? So like spring, summer, fall, winter. What time of, what season was it? This is for part 4. All right, 5. What was the family in the story planning to do in a week? What were they going to do a week from then? So you can write down what they're going to do a week from then. Then part 6. Why did the girl want to get home so fast? Why did the girl want to get home so fast? Question 7. What did Mother say the girl had to do if she took the white powdered stuff? What did Mother say the girl had to do if she took all the white powdered stuff? Then 8. What is a word that describes the girl in the story? It's a word that they said a lot and a lot and a lot. What is a word that describes the girl in the story? Then 9. What is one thing the girl did that shows you she was that kind of person? About the word that was said about her a lot? So what is one thing the girl did that shows you that she was that kind of a person? And then the last question, 10. At the end of the story, how did the girl feel about the way she had acted? How did the girl feel about the way she acted at the end of the story? So that's 10. So you can fill in all those answers. And the next part, you're going to do your we remember and finish up. And then tomorrow, on Tuesday, we're going to do our self-check. And then Wednesday, we're going to do our test and knockout reading. So that is what we're doing today. So have fun with it. We don't have language. So it might seem like, oh, this reading lesson, we have 2 lessons. But we don't have language, and reading is a lot of fun. So I think you'll enjoy this. So have a super fun lesson.